Luna Garcia hesitated for a moment on the threshold of the backstage area at the city's most prestigious fashion show. She adjusted the straps of her worn handbag, its leather scratched and softened from years of use, then took a careful step inside. The air was thick with the scent of fresh flowers, expensive perfumes, and the faint warmth of freshly steamed fabric. Stunning gowns hung on racks, glittering under bright lights. Models in sleek black uniforms fluttered past with hurried movements, their voices low and urgent as they smoothed creases or applied finishing touches. Though Luna wore a dress that had clearly seen better days, a simple thrift store find, wrinkled and faded, she moved quietly, trying not to draw attention. Her scuffed shoes whispered softly against the polished floor. Despite her nervousness, she kept her head high, absorbing the vortex of luxury and precision surrounding her. The backdrop of murmurs, occasional laughter, and the clacking of heels was almost hypnotic. A few present turned their heads as she passed. Their eyes narrowed, lips twitching with amusement or barely concealed disdain. Whispered comments floated on the air like needles in silk. Someone muttered about a cleaning lady wandering into the wrong place. Another snorted softly, nudging their companion with a smirk that suggested Luna's crumpled dress was a joke. Luna's heart tightened, but she stayed composed, swallowing the sharp sting of exclusion. Behind a sleek counter, the event coordinator, an impeccably dressed woman with a cold, appraising gaze, noticed Luna. Her eyes tracked every detail, the worn soles of her shoes, the creased fabric of her dress, and the woman's hesitant, uncertain posture. The subtle smirk playing on her lips spoke volumes. Luna met that look with a quiet, steady breath, silently promising herself she wouldn't let their judgment break her spirit. The event coordinator's footsteps clicked sharply on the polished floor as she approached Luna like a predator closing in on unfamiliar prey. Luna felt eyes on her from every angle, a wave of gnawing anxiety creeping through her veins. The coordinator stopped a few feet away, her posture rigid, lips curling into a tight smile that didn't reach her cold eyes. "Can I help you?" the coordinator asked, voice dripping with false politeness that barely concealed her suspicion. "Are you lost? This area is strictly for staff, models, and invited guests." Luna straightened her shoulders, summoning a calm she barely felt. "I'm here to enjoy the fashion show," she replied softly but clearly, her voice steady despite the knot tightening in her stomach. "I wanted to see the collection, support the designer." The coordinator's smile twisted into something sharper, a blade that cut through the air before she spoke again. "Enjoy the show? You do realize that backstage isn't a public space, right? It's reserved for people who actually belong here, professionals, VIPs, insiders." She glanced pointedly at Luna's wrinkled dress and scuffed shoes. "Someone with your appearance should probably stick to the audience area." Her words were loud enough for nearby staff to overhear, drawing glances and muffled snickers. A stylist passing by tilted her head and said loudly, exaggerating her tone for the benefit of others, "Maybe she's part of the cleaning crew? Or the catering staff forgot to send her home?" Laughter bubbled up from a small cluster nearby, accompanied by nods and smirks. Luna's cheeks flushed hot, but she kept her gaze lowered, trying to absorb the humiliation without losing control. The coordinator's voice raised slightly, commanding the attention of everyone around. "Let's be honest, this isn't a place for thrift store fashion." Luna's throat tightened. She opened her mouth, searching for words that would stand firm against the rising tide of mockery, but none came. Her confidence, which had seemed steady moments before, shattered under the public spotlight of scorn. Phones appeared with dizzying speed, recording her discomfort as though it were entertainment. Whispers escalated into cruel commentary. "Who does she think she is? How did she even get back here? This is a joke, right?" The coordinator's cruelty played out like a performance in the harsh lights. I'm afraid you'll have to leave the backstage area. This isn't the place for those who don't meet our standards. Her voice was final. Luna's body froze, shock rippling through her limbs. She looked up, eyes searching for even a hint of sympathy from the crowd that now encircled her like a cage. Instead, she found stifled laughter sealed with looks of indifference. A security staff member, tall and stern, stepped forward and gently but firmly took Luna's arm. "Miss, please come with me." His tone was professional but unmoving. Luna's voice, when she finally forced it out, trembled slightly. I only wanted to see the show." "Please," he repeated, guiding her toward the exit. As she moved through the throng of onlookers, Luna's mind reeled. Every sideways glance felt like a weighted blow. Every muffled giggle tightened her chest. Before she reached the door, one of the stylists called out, loud enough for many to hear, "Next time, maybe try coming dressed for the occasion." The group erupted in laughter again. Luna's lips were pressed tightly shut as tears pricked at the edges of her eyes. She clenched her fists to stay composed. Outside the buzzing backstage, the cool night air met her like a wave, but it offered little comfort. Luna took shallow breaths, steadying herself. Her eyes darted back toward the glass doors, where the show carried on inside, glittering and glamorous. The murmur of joy, the rhythmic clicking of high heels, the sudden bursts of applause, it was all still happening just beyond reach. For a moment, Luna allowed herself to imagine standing among them, accepted and welcome. But the truth pressed in harder. No one had helped her. No one had spoken up or offered a handshake or a kind word. She had been left to face the humiliation alone. Her shoulders sagged as she turned away from the entrance and stepped back onto the quiet street, the weight of exclusion heavier than the worn fabric clinging to her frame. Inside the bustling lounge area a short distance beyond the stage, the fashion show's event coordinator, Vanessa Moreau, rejoined her colleagues with a self-satisfied air. The cherry-red lipstick she wore gleamed as she smirked, leaning in close to a fellow staff member. Her voice was low but unmistakably proud. "That woman," she said, nodding toward the exit Luna had just been ushered through, "was an interloper. Someone trying to crash the scene and pretend she belongs where she clearly doesn't. If we don't keep things exclusive, our brand loses its prestige." Her companion nodded enthusiastically. "Exclusivity is everything here. If we start letting in anyone who looks out of place or different, as she did, it dilutes the entire event." Vanessa's eyes sparkled with a dangerous satisfaction. She believed firmly in the strict lines separating those worthy of this world from those who are not. For her, guarding the fashion house's image was a personal mission, a shield against what she called imposters, who might tarnish the event's carefully curated gloss. Back in the main event hall, the air vibrated with renewed energy. Models glided down the runway, spectators clapped enthusiastically as new collections debuted under the bright lights. Vanessa, having handled the problem, allowed herself a discreet smile of victory amidst the crowd's animated chatter. The laughter and conversations she had interrupted now resumed, as if nothing had threatened their perfect world. Meanwhile, outside, Luna found refuge behind a dimly lit corner of the venue's service entrance. The quiet was a sharp contrast to the vibrant atmosphere she had just been forcibly removed from. She touched her wrinkled dress cautiously, smoothing the creases with trembling fingers. Her breath came unevenly, chest tight with the sting of humiliation and raw frustration. Yet, behind the shroud of vulnerability, a spark of defiance flickered. She told herself she wouldn't crumble. Not here. Not now. Wiping a stray tear from her cheek, Luna tried to compose herself, straightening the crumpled fabric as best she could. She was a person who believed in purpose over appearance, in substance rather than spectacle. Her modest attire was no accident, minimalist by choice, a personal vow to focus on what truly mattered. But still, the scorn she had faced cut deeper than she'd expected. Suddenly, a sharp tap on her shoulder broke the silence. Luna turned to see a sharply dressed young man holding an elegant silver envelope and several impeccably folded sheets of high-quality paper embossed with the fashion house's insignia. His expression was polite but urgent. "Ms. Garcia?" he asked gently. Luna nodded, still wary but curious. "The main sponsor of tonight's fashion show has requested your presence," he explained, voice low out of respect for the surrounding quiet. "They insisted on delivering this message privately at first, but we were asked to find you immediately." Luna's heart skipped a beat. No one expected someone like her to receive special attention amidst the glittering crowd. With a rising sense of tension, the young man gestured toward the entrance. "Shall we go inside?" Outside the ballroom doors and beyond the glow of the runway lights, word began to spread. A few guests noticing Luna's return shrugged their shoulders initially, but then curious eyes began to focus on her once again. Whispers grew, eyes darted to the silver envelope in the assistant's hand, their tone shifting from ridicule to something more uncertain. Inside, the air thickened noticeably. The murmur of conversations dimmed as people around the room sensed something unusual was unfolding. A ripple of anticipation coursed through the crowd, the kind that comes when unwelcome news or a surprising announcement is about to interrupt the expected flow. Vanessa's brow furrowed as she caught sight of Luna being guided back inside. Her eyes narrowed sharply, a flicker of panic cutting through her composed exterior. The interest was now all hers, too, but tinged with fear of what was coming. Guests who had barely noticed Luna before now stole discreet glances, their buzz of whispers growing louder. The cameras and phones, once raised in mockery, paused and turned instead toward this unexpected visitor. The energy in the room shifted subtly. What had been a parade of exclusivity became temporarily unraveled by the presence of the very woman they dismissed just moments earlier. Luna's breathing steady but her pulse quickened. She followed the young man through the crowd, eyes scanning cautiously. Every glance felt like a gust of wind testing her resolve, but alongside that was an unfamiliar but welcome wave: curiosity, respect, perhaps even a little awe. She realized, with a brief flicker of hope, that this moment might be different. That perhaps, here among the glittering elite and their polished smiles, recognition might replace ridicule. The room's ambient chatter dimmed to a hush as Luna Garcia was led toward the gleaming center stage where the sponsor of the event stood poised, awaiting her arrival. A spotlight suddenly illuminated her simple, crumpled dress, scuffed shoes, and modest figure, a stark contrast to the polished elegance that surrounded her. The polished floors and crystal chandeliers above seemed to shimmer in response to the silent anticipation filling the space. The sponsor stepped forward, a tall, confident man named James Adler, the renowned luxury brand magnate whose name was synonymous with sophistication and impeccable taste. His tailored suit emphasized his commanding presence as he extended a warm, genuine smile toward Luna. The crowd's eyes locked onto them both, whispers swirling like a rising tide. "Ladies and gentlemen," James began, his voice steady and clear, "I would like to introduce you to Luna Garcia." His words floated across the room, arresting the murmurs as he continued, "Ms. Garcia is not merely a guest here tonight. She is our top buyer, an invaluable patron whose support has made possible many of the exquisite collections you have seen, and will see, in this very hall." The collective intake of breath was palpable. The audience, so recently dismissive, now stared in stunned silence, phones dropping briefly to their sides in disbelief. Those who had mocked Luna's appearance only moments before exchanged hurried, awkward glances, some lowering their gazes. The air vibrated with a mixture of shock and rapidly growing respect. Vanessa Moreau stood frozen near the side, her face a mask of disbelief and pale shock. Her practiced confidence wavered visibly as she processed the revelation. The stinging memory of her sharp words and public dismissal echoed back, now weighing heavily like a sudden, crushing weight. James gestured kindly toward Luna, allowing her to take the floor. Calmly, Luna stepped forward, hands gracefully clasped. There was no trace of bitterness or triumph in her posture, only a quiet, elegant dignity. "I am grateful for this opportunity," Luna said softly. "I know my clothing tonight does not reflect the glamour expected here. I came directly from an extended overseas trip. Travel has its own demands on what one wears." Her gaze swept the room, steady and assured. "More important than appearances, I believe in supporting the work behind the beauty. My approach is minimalist, practical, a choice I made years ago to focus on substance over surface." A ripple of understanding passed through the room, muffling any lingering judgment. Luna's words resonated, touching something deeper than fashion's surface gloss. "As a buyer," she continued, "I have long admired the artistry and dedication involved in every piece shown here. My passion lies not in wearing the most elaborate dresses, but in helping these creations come to life and reach audiences worldwide. Tonight, I simply wanted to experience this moment, even in humble attire." The crowd reacted with quiet respect, their eyes reflecting newfound warmth. Several guests nodded slowly, some clapping softly. It was an intimate moment, a reminder that beneath the spikes of glitter and glittering fabric sat real people, real stories. The contrast between Luna's understated grace and the prior cold exclusivity could not have been more profound. It was as if a shining light had pierced the cultivated veneer of snobbishness, revealing something authentic and inspiring. The room felt subtly transformed. Vanessa's shoulders slumped as realization settled in. Her earlier judgments had been shallow, cruel, and unfounded. She swallowed hard and avoided meeting Luna's calm, powerful gaze. The sponsor, James, closed the moment, voice firm but kind. "Let this be a reminder that true distinction comes not merely from appearance, but from character, commitment, and respect. Let us carry that spirit forward in every thread we create." With that, applause rippled through the crowd, steady and sincere. People who had earlier snubbed Luna now looked at her with admiration, some moving closer to exchange quiet congratulations. Others fumbled awkward apologies, attempting to make amends without words. Luna acknowledged them with gentle nods and small smiles, refusing to gloat or belittle. The strength in her quiet resilience was itself a statement, an example of grace under pressure. Her presence alone challenged the very exclusivity that had wrongly condemned her, inviting others to reflect on their own preconceptions. As the applause died down, Luna glanced around once more. Despite the newfound respect, she remained herself, unpretentious, grounded. The crumpled thrift dress had not changed. What had changed was the room's perception, and perhaps, in some small way, the rules that had long governed this world. She exchanged a brief look with James, understanding and shared pride passing silently between them. In that moment, Luna Garcia was more than just a top buyer, she was a symbol of dignity, of overlooked potential shining through simplicity. The crowd slowly resumed their celebration, but the atmosphere now held an added layer, one of inclusion and humility. A quiet murmur of speculation and admiration hummed softly as the next phase of the show began, forever marked by Luna's unexpected and powerful appearance. The fashion world had shifted, if only for a moment, and Luna's unassuming presence was at its heart. The moment the applause began to fade, James Adler's commanding voice rang out once more, sharp and decisive. "Vanessa," he called across the room, causing the event coordinator to snap her head toward him, eyes wide with apprehension. "Your behavior backstage was unacceptable and does not represent the values we uphold." A hush settled over the crowd as Vanessa's face, once so full of confidence, flushed a deep shade of crimson. James's tone left no room for argument. This event will be temporarily suspended until we address how inclusivity and respect must be enforced at every level. His gaze swept across the assembled guests, signaling the seriousness of his pronouncement. Vanessa's shoulders tensed, realizing the gravity of her situation. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd, not just about Luna's stunning reveal, but about the coordinator's public disgrace. Clusters of guests exchanged knowing looks, eyebrows raised. The narrative had swiftly flipped, where once she was the queen of exclusivity, now she became a figure of quiet scorn. James gestured toward the backstage entrance. "Vanessa, please come with me." His voice softened, but carried firm authority. The event staff moved quickly to clear the area, while others captured the moment on their phones, the viral potential undeniable. Rumors spread fast, and within hours of the evening's shocking reveal, video clips had flooded social media. The once respected coordinator was now the subject of sharp online criticism, accused of snobbery and unprofessional behavior. The fashion house promptly announced that Vanessa had been removed from her position pending further training, a public statement aimed at repairing reputation and sending a message: discrimination would not be tolerated. Meanwhile, Luna, still standing with a quiet grace, was approached by a few guests eager for conversation. Her earlier pain was replaced by steady confidence, her calm demeanor inspiring silent admiration. Despite the storm around her, she remained gracious, downplaying the evening's drama with humble comments and warm smiles. A later encounter caught Vanessa off guard. Walking alone through a quiet hallway behind the venue, she almost collided with Luna, who was leaving after final farewells. Vanessa looked away quickly, cheeks burning with shame. "Luna," Vanessa murmured, voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated, then forced out, I'm sorry. I was wrong." Her eyes avoided Luna's steady gaze. Luna met her softly, a faint, enigmatic smile curving her lips. "Thank you for saying that," she said gently. "We all learn." Without waiting for more, Luna turned and walked away, poised and dignified. That brief exchange lingered in Vanessa's mind long after the event. It reminded her, and those who heard the story, that accountability often required humility, and that kindness held power beyond superficial appearances. Outside, under the glow of city lights, Luna emerged from the hall with quiet majesty. Her simple dress still gently creased, her handbag worn but carried with unmistakable confidence, she moved through the gathering crowds unfazed by their stares. The murmurs followed her steps, the same people who had barely noticed her before now watched in stunned silence. She paused for only a moment, inhaled deeply, and smiled, not a celebratory smile, but one of measured strength and self-possession. The fashion world, with all its glitter and elegance, had been altered irrevocably by her presence. Luna's walk away from the spotlight was not an exit but a statement. A reminder that sometimes, the truest beauty lies in authenticity, resilience, and grace, and that these qualities shine brightest when least expected.